Welcome back to the Body Composition Coach podcast. And look, you might have noticed I've been away for a little bit. Now, I've made that sound like there's been like this huge break between episodes. There really hasn't. I think I filmed my last episode back right at the end of November. I released it to you guys at the end of December 2025. Now, the reason that I wanted to go away, I mean, look, loads of things have changed since then. I'll go into the depth of some of that, I'm sure, as we cover these next episodes. But the reason I wanted to go away was like, look, we filmed 25 episodes of the last podcast, and we talked about loads of different subjects. And look, the feedback from everyone was honestly amazing, and not even just from like a point of view of thank you for bigging me up, but it was really nice to just hear how it had changed and affected some lives. And, you know, you guys had taken away so much value and learned so much about different subjects. You know, we covered so many different things. So the reason I wanted to just take a little bit of a break was to just go away and see what you all valued. So I spoke to loads of you and I talked to you about the podcast, and we talked about what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, which was just as important. And look, hopefully this next string of episodes are going to put together. I won't tell you too much about them because there will be a few twists and turns, I'm sure. But hopefully the next few episodes we put together are going to be just as valuable, and if not more valuable, based on the work that's gone into them. So listen, let's get to today's episode. So I'm going to talk about probably the most controversial subject in fitness right now, and that is let's call them skinny jabs, right? Because we can say like Ozempic or Mounjaro, and depending on where you are in the world, it will depend on which one you have access to, and others, Wegovy or anything like that, right? But I think it needs to be discussed. As a health and fitness professional, the assumption, you know, I've done this for a very long time, and I've seen people change their lives without any weight loss drugs. But I think the assumption when any fitness professional is going to talk about this subject is they're going to hate it. You know, of course they're going to hate it. It's the wrong thing. People shouldn't be taking drugs to lose weight. They just need to move more and eat less. And look, I'm going to try and give you my most balanced view that I possibly can. I have my opinions and I will share them, but I'm just going to warn you at the start. I'm not going into this subject where I'm just going to slate it. I'm not just going to talk about how bad it is and how you shouldn't be doing it and how you should sign up to my program, because that's just not how I feel. There is nuance to everything in fitness, and anyone who tells you otherwise is massively wide of the mark. If anyone tells you there's one way of doing anything in fitness, then they're probably trying to sell you something. So look, let's talk about it. When we talk about Ozempic and Mounjaro, let's start with what it is and what it actually does, because I think people understand they are skinny jabs and they make you lose weight, or that's how they maybe view it. It makes you lose weight. You take the drug and it makes weight loss really easy. But the mechanics are a little bit different to that. Actually, it's called a GLP-1. So they call them GLP-1 drugs. Now, GLP-1 is actually a hormone that we have within our body. It's glucagon-like peptide. So what this hormone does is, in really simple basic terms, is makes you feel full. It's an appetite suppressant. So when you've actually eaten, you release GLP-1 into your system, and then it almost sends a signal to your brain to say, I've eaten, I'm happy, I'm full, I need nothing else, right? What you actually end up having when you're taking Ozempic, Mounjaro, or anything else, let's just call them GLP-1s for the podcast. When you're taking a GLP-1 drug, what happens is you just feel full all the time. Like, your appetite is suppressed pretty much all the time. So when people really simplify fat loss, and you'll have heard this all the time, they say, well, move more and eat less. Well, look, the eat less bit of that is pretty much covered, right? You can't eat as much as you would want. It's almost like having a gastric band. Very similar outcome, very different process, but very similar outcome. And if we talk about the numbers of what the benefits are, like, generally people report, or the numbers report, 15 to 20% of body weight loss, which can be significant amounts. Like, if you go into this process and you're 100 kilograms or 120 kilograms and, you know, you're quite overweight, we're talking like 20 kilograms of your body weight. So it's a significant amount of weight to lose on these drugs. So when we start talking about these things, they sound amazing. It's like, well, of course, like, that's the answer. You know, this is the future. This is the answer. But they come with a bit of a problem. And I'm not going to sit here and scaremonger anybody about how you lose all of your muscle and, you know, your metabolism becomes broken. None of those things are true, right? Just to be clear off the bat, none of those things are true as a whole. They're true in reality because people don't do what they're supposed to do with alongside taking the GLP-1. For example, I have clients now who have been on GLP-1s, are on GLP-1s. Now, I do not prescribe GLP-1s, and I would actively encourage somebody to come away from GLP-1s. But some people come to me wanting help and they're already taking GLP-1s, and it's my duty to help them to navigate that. The things that people should be doing when they're on GLP-1s, like strength training, like trying to build muscle, like still trying to eat enough protein, all those simple things that we know about, they don't do. That's why you end up losing muscle. They see a GLP-1 generally as a shortcut to a result. Okay, I need to do nothing but take this GLP-1 and I will lose weight, which is true, you will, but you will lose fat and you will lose muscle, and you will make your overall issue worse. The main issue with GLP-1s in general is the lack of sustainability post taking. Now, you cannot take, well, you can, but you cannot take GLP-1s in theory forever, because at some point you have to come away from a GLP-1. Now, when we think back to what I said about what GLP-1s are, what GLP-1s are and what they do, we know that they just suppress your appetite. So if your appetite has been suppressed for, let's say, a year, taking GLP-1s, you've lost tons of weight, 20% of your body weight, for example. You come off GLP-1s, your appetite is no longer suppressed. What's the problem? Okay, you probably don't need me to explain that to you. Suddenly there's this issue where you've lost weight, but a big chunk of it was muscle mass. So your metabolism is lower and slower anyway. You've learned nothing about the behavioral changes that are required to get into shape. You've learned nothing about actually training and adding in the essential part of building a new life and lifestyle and habits and fitness and all of that sort of stuff. You're no further ahead other than the fact you weigh 20 kilograms lighter, but you're no further ahead. So what tends to happen, and what we've seen in data, is within like the first year, 67% of that weight that you lost has been regained on average. Some people more, some people less, but on average. This isn't just like a rare case where, this one person gained 67% of the weight back that they lost within a year. No, that's on average, according to studies. It shows us very, very clearly that taking GLP-1 is a short-term solution. And I have no problem with that for some people. Not everybody needs to be turned into GLP-1s. But for some people who are dangerously overweight, who their health issues far outweigh the whole conversation of, should you do this naturally? Should you just go and join the gym and get a trainer and those sort of things? I think there are some people who are beyond that, and as an extreme, they should just be taking GLP-1 to start with, whilst building all of that other stuff alongside it. So I have no issue with that. The issue I do have is turning to GLP-1s as this solution to fix your problems, because what you are doing is avoiding the thing that you really need to do. You're avoiding the solution that is right in front of you for an easier fix. And people have done this for years. They've done this with skinny teas. They've done this with fat burners. All of those different things over the years, the juice diets that people have been on. People have been looking for these solutions for decades. They're easy solutions. And we come around to a new one every kind of 10 years or so. And in my opinion, GLP-1s are slightly different because they're obviously way more effective at the job that it says it does, which is to lose weight. But they're no different in terms of they are still a short-term solution for the main problem that is staring you straight in the face. So if we take that main problem, the sustainability, the weight gain, the appetite returns, the metabolic adaptation, because let's say your maintenance used to be 2,000 calories before you started taking a GLP-1, and suddenly it's 15 or 1,600 calories, and you can eat even less to gain weight now. You can see how this creates such a big issue. If you're going to take a GLP-1, whether you're somebody who's severely overweight and therefore it probably is appropriate for you, or whether you're someone who's using it as a short-term fix, the same problem sits in front of you. The same barrier that you're going to need to overcome sits in front of you. Now, the main thing for me when it comes to fixing long-term weight gain or getting a long-term solution to fat loss, it is all behavioral. Pretty much everything is behavioral. If you do nothing to change the behaviors that are causing your weight gain or you to be overweight, whether you take a GLP-1 or not, whether you train or not, you will never get a long-term solution. So I'm talking about things like, if you see yourself as the person who goes out every Friday night, if you see yourself as a person who always has to have a drink after work, that glass of wine, if you see yourself as the person who can't say no to the biscuits in the office. They're just there, and I can't resist them. There's nothing I could possibly do to not have a biscuit. It's just in me. Or I'm just one of those sweet treat people. This is all identity-based thinking, right? All along the way, what you've done is created an identity as somebody who eats the biscuit, has the drink, doesn't go to the gym, isn't into fitness. You've created an identity, and this is the narrative you start from within yourself. When you're taking a GLP-1, if you're not working on the narrative that you have for yourself, the behaviors that you display, if you're constantly telling yourself you have to take the GLP-1 because you are just the person who can't resist a drink on a Friday, or you are just the person who can't lose weight, you are going to run into problems. And listen, if I'm going to be brutal, I have no sympathy for you, because you're not doing anything to approach the problem that you have. Now, the reason I have all the respect in the world for the clients who come to me who are taking GLP-1s or have been taking GLP-1s is simply because they are aware that they're using a GLP-1 to fix a short-term problem, but the long-term problem still sits with them fixing the thing that's right in front of them, and that is their identity, their behaviors, learning to train regularly, learning to change their lifestyle, learning to change their habits and behaviors. Now, the common thing that comes up here, and I'm going to cover this off straight away because it really gets under my skin, is I'm going to do it slow and steady to make sure that it's sustainable. Listen, the speed of which you lose weight, and obviously Ozempic and Mounjaro play into this, the speed of which you lose weight has no impact whatsoever on whether you sustain fat loss or not. The speed of which you lose weight is simply how hard you go at it or how kind of soft you go at it. Now, ultimately along the way, you have to build the behaviors, the habits, the identity, the mindset to sustain this. There is no, I'm going to do Mounjaro or Ozempic for a short period of time and then I'm just going to kind of, eat a bit less and sustain it. That will not happen. There's no easy way to sustain fat loss other than the fact you have to do the stuff that you do to lose weight, and you have to do it forever. So for example, let's forget Ozempic and Mounjaro for a second, but let's say, for example, you decide, I'm going to go on this fitness journey, I'm going to get into calorie deficit, I'm going to start going to the gym 3 times a week, and I'm going to walk 10,000 steps. Believe me, you're going to be going to the gym 3 times a week, and you're going to be doing 10,000 steps every single day now for the rest of your life. Now, there will be obviously breaks for that, you go on holiday and whatever, but generally you are going to have to continue doing that forever. Now, you're not going to have to eat in a calorie deficit forever. You'll be able to bring your calories back up again, not probably to the level that they were when you were overweight, but you are going to have to eat less for the rest of your life. Like, you're going to have to maintain that level of eating. I think this is a massive mistake, I suppose, or misunderstanding with losing weight of like, okay, well, you just do it for a period of time, you lose the weight and then you go back to normal. You need to establish the behaviors, the mindset, the identity of somebody who is the weight or the fitness or the muscularity of the person that you want to be. Look, if I'm to summarize my views on this GLP-1 subject, it's probably not as strongly against as maybe what you expected me to say, but I am very strongly against any kind of short-term fix if you're doing nothing to fix the problem that's in front of you. And probably 80% of the work that I do with every client, not GLP-1 specific, 80% of the work that I do with every single client is behavioral, identity-based work that helps them to become the person that they want to be, display the actions of the person they want to be for the rest of their life, not just for this short-term period of time where they're losing weight. So I think GLP-1s can be useful. I think they should be used in certain situations, but in every single situation, there is no exception, I don't think, to this. But in every single situation, if you're not working on identity, mindset, behaviors, habits, and I don't mean just, I'm just trying to eat a bit better and I'm creating habits. That's not creating habits or behaviors. But if you're not doing anything specific, working with a professional, doing something alongside the GLP-1, you are setting yourself up to fail and you will go back. Do the same thing as you did with the juice diets, with Weight Watchers, with Slimming World. You do the same thing again. You'll just go backwards again. 10 years down the line, you'll be trying the next thing, which God knows what that will be 10 years from now. So look, hopefully that was useful and hope you really enjoyed this episode, and it's good to be back in the studio, that's for sure. As always, if you want to find out more about what we do, visit me on Instagram, go into my link in my bio. You'll be able to see the rest of the podcast episodes. You'll be able to work with us. You'll be able to look at our offering and how we help people and what we do. Absolutely would love to hear from you and hear your views on this. So as always, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a comment, let me know what you thought. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And that's okay as well. I love healthy debate, as long as it's healthy debate, but would obviously really value your views. And until next time, I'll see you on the next episode.